Hey folks, welcome back. So, we have covered a lot of basics so far and built a good foundation. So, let's go ahead and look at some visualization concepts. So, let me show you a few ways to create some advanced visualization. So, the goal of this lecture is to kind of give you a walkthrough of some advanced visualization techniques, some ways to sort data, some ways to group data, and what are the other features available. All right, so let me open up Tableau, and this is the same workbook that we have been working with in the last few lectures. And what I'm going to do is, let's start something from scratch, right? Let me add a new data source, and then I'll connect it to my SQL server. All right, so I'll go ahead and connect to my AdventureWorks database now. Again, just a quick rewind. This is a database that ships along with SQL Server. This is like a sample database that Microsoft provides. I have actually given some links in case you are interested in kind of installing that, but this is not an absolute necessity for this course or anything. All right, so let me actually drag and drop a few tables. So let's say all right, let's say the purchase order detail. Okay, and it shows a couple of rows and a couple of columns. Looks like everything would be measures, so we'll need something to have some dimensions as well. So let's see if there is some other table. All right, so let's use product and see what it gives us. Did an inner join, let's update it. All right, so we have some data to play with, and let's also take the purchase order detail, right? So 3 things that we have joined, and now we have some data to work with. Actually, let me do it this way. Purchase order header, maybe, and then product. Maybe if I join it the other way, I'll get some data. Okay, so I have some data to play with now, right? So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create a worksheet and it has automatically classified as dimensions and measures. Now, what we are going to be looking at is this particular tab, show me, right? It has a number of graphs and you see that everything is disabled here, but when you hover on it, it kind of shows you like what is required to enable it. Like in this case, it's 1 or more dimensions and 0 or 2 measures, right? So let's go ahead and select one measure and one dimension and see what happens, right? So let's take, say, name, and let's take order quantity. So I've just selected using the control. So I've pressed the control button and I've clicked on one dimension and one measure, and you see that some of the things get enabled over here, right? So let's say that I'm clicking on the horizontal chart, and it kind of gives me this horizontal chart based on the 2 things that we selected, right? The name and the order quantity. Cool. Yeah, one cool thing is if you hover on this particular column, you see this small icon, and if you click on that, that'll actually sort this, and if you click it again, it'll sort it in ascending, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of cycle that. The other way is definitely you can go to the particular attribute and then say sort, and then it'll give you a couple of options as to how to sort it. You can sort it ascending, descending by alphabetically, or you can sort it based on a particular field as well. So some options out there that you can kind of look at. And then again, if you want to kind of clear off this whole chart, there is a easy way to do that, and that is a ready-made icon called clear sheet, and then it just clears the whole sheet, right? So let's try some other graph. Let's try say product line and what else? Let's do list price. So again, I'm selecting 2, and let's say I select on pie chart, and it creates a pie chart for me, right? So it's kind of very simple, but this pie chart is a little bit it's difficult to read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to kind of display the numbers. So drag and drop list price to label, and it will actually show you the numbers. And again, you can, if you want just percentages, you can just right click. This is something we covered in the previous lecture. Say quick calculation and say % of total, and then it kind of gives you this % of total. Again, you can click on this and say format, and then say I just want 1 decimal point, and it'll show you 1 decimal point. So plenty of stuff you can do with this, with formatting and stuff like that, right? Let's look at one more example, but you get the overall picture, right? It's basically just choosing a couple of dimensions and measures and seeing which graph fits in best into that criteria. So let's do something else. Let's take the product line, and then let's say line total and order quantity, right? And if you do this, it kind of gives you a couple of options which absolutely requires 2 measures, right? So if I click on this scatter plot, you'll find this getting plotted, right? This is the line total, this is the order, and their intersection is kind of what is marked over here. So some cool stuff, and then you can visualize the data as a tabular format as well. So this is the product line, this is the line total, and I've just converted that into a scatter plot, right? So it's pretty cool to kind of look at these different things that is provided by Tableau. Now, so one more thing I wanted to kind of show you is, let's actually do something. Let's actually clear the sheet, and then let's use name and say order quantity, right? And I'm going to plot this and sort this out, right? There are a couple of things available over here. Let me just close this. One is if you kind of right click, it kind of selects one of them, and you can actually select everything and say right click and say mark label and always show. So it'll kind of show you those labels as well, right? Similarly, there are a couple of things you can do, like if you want to kind of maybe just concentrate on the top 10, you can kind of select the top 10, right? And then hover on it and say keep only, and it's going to filter it out, right? So we'll talk more about filters, but you see that the attribute is appeared in filters, but we'll talk more about that. By the way, if you actually click on this left side arrow, it'll undo, and it has like a lot of undo steps. Like you can keep undoing it like 100 times or more. So if you make a mistake, just keep clicking on that, right? The next cool thing I wanted to kind of show you is, suppose you are looking at this chart and you want to kind of group the top performing into one set. You can actually highlight on that, hover on that, and then actually create a separate set out of it. Let me go ahead and create this, and then I'll call this as group 1 or something like this, right? And now if you actually search for group, there is a set called group 1. So I'll just go ahead and clear this. I'll clear this and say group 1, and it'll tell you inside and outside of that group, and I can actually start playing around with some parameters, right? So list price of all the things that was inside that group that we selected versus outside. So it kind of gives you an inside cluster, outside cluster analysis. You can also deep dive and say, give me the names of or the product lines inside it, and then the product lines outside it. So plenty of stuff you can do with it. Right, so a lot of stuff in that. Of course, you can actually, this is one way of grouping it, but you can actually have another, custom calculations as well. We covered calculations a little bit. So let me show you this. So say for instance, you have style and then you have a list price, right? So let's say I want to create 2 groups, anything that's less than maybe 1000 as group 1 and anything that's greater than 1000 as group 2. And there's an easy way of doing it, right? So you can just right click and say create a calculated field, and I will just call this as groupings, and I'll say that if my sum of list price is say less than 1000, then I'm calling it as group A, else I will call that as group B. Simple stuff, right? And then end. The calculation contains errors. Let's see what the error is. I forgot to close this. Now it should be fine. So once we drag and drop groupings, this is one way to kind of add some groups. So it has group A, group B according to our calculation, right? All right, so one of the things I wanted to also show you is concept of parameters, right? So I will go ahead and create a new parameter. I will call this as my custom threshold. And let's see, custom threshold, and I'm going to expose this parameter and then, use this for something. So what should we use it for? Let's say, for example, we just created these groupings and I don't want to hard code this 1000. Rather, I want the user to send the threshold. So I'm going to say that take this from my custom threshold and then accordingly classify it, right? So it is all group B. Now let's say if I put 1000, you see it changing, right? So this parameter is actually driving that filter and that particular grouping, right? So plenty of stuff you can see. I just wanted to show you how you can connect these different things and then create this highly flexible reports. Yeah, so again, I'll provide some reading materials as well. Hopefully this will give you, this lecture should have given you a brief introduction on how to create charts and reports and how to group stuff, how to use some calculations, and how to use parameters more effectively to have more dynamic interaction with the users, and then they can interact with the report more effectively, right? So yeah, hope to see you in the next lesson. So have a great day.